Hello and a great big welcome to today's YouTube live show, Dare to Be You TV. And Beck is still away on holiday at the moment, so you're just going to have my company today. So I just wanted to give you a massive welcome and say how great it is to have you here. There's a couple of things before we get started that I would really like to share with you. And the first one is the new video series that Beck and I have been working on. That is coming out on the 9th of September. And that is how do I deal with? And then we've kind of talked about a lot of different subjects and a lot of subjects that Beck and I between us have struggled with. Things like guilt and shame, anxiety and stress, trauma, and all sorts of things like that. We've made, or we are in the middle of making a series of 4 videos for you. They're going to be going out every day from the 9th, 10th of September. And yeah, we've talked about what we have seen around those subjects, you know, what we have learned about those and what's been massively helpful to us. So if you want to receive those videos and you're not on our mailing list, then sign up and you will get them. And if you know of anyone who would benefit from having those videos, tell them to sign up because they can have the videos too. They're completely free, just our gift to you. They were just some subjects that people asked us to make videos about, so we thought we would share those with you. It would be great, you know, to get them out there and help as many people as we possibly can, so spread the word. Right, so there's 2 other things that I'd like to tell you about. One of them is the fact that we are having our next retreat, which is in October. It's from the 11th to the 14th of October. We just love doing retreats. They are such fun. They're just really beautiful ways to connect, a really lovely way to dive a little bit more deeply into what it is that Beck and I share with you. This understanding that we talk about that is absolutely life-changing. So if you want more information about our retreat, our website is actually slap bang in the middle of being updated. I was hoping it would be done by now, but with all technology, you know what it's like. Things never go quite the way that you hope them to. So it's not, the website isn't quite ready yet. But if you are interested in the retreat and want to know more about it, please feel free to message us, get in touch. And as soon as the website is there, as soon as the way to book onto that retreat is up and running and available, we will be letting you know, because we would absolutely love you to be there. So, and then the other thing is the thing that we're always massively excited about, our conference. And our conference this year is going to be from November the 14th to the 16th. And that is at the Pier House in Westwood Ho. It's 3 absolutely magical days. We had the conference last year in September, and it literally blew me away. It was so beautiful. And a lot of the speakers from last year have agreed to come back, and then we've got a few new ones. And over the last few months, I'm sure you've noticed, we've been doing webinar chats with some of the people who are going to be speaking at the conference. So there is Meet the Speaker YouTube videos with pretty much, no, we still have got a couple to go because they're going to be finishing as we come up to the conference. So you can find those on our YouTube channel, the Meet the Speakers, and kind of see who the speakers are going to be. We've got Andy Winter, we've got Denise Holland, we've got Steve Adair, we've got Frederick Kinman, some absolutely amazing people, Mandy Spray. I'm going to forget someone and then I'm going to feel really terrible. So, and of course, Beck and I will be speaking there, and Lucy will be there. And it's going to be an absolutely fun-filled and yet, beautiful connection, just a lovely feeling in the room, and we'd absolutely love to have you there. So you can buy tickets for the conference on Eventbrite. You can find it, the Dare to Be You North Devon Mental Health and Wellbeing Conference. Or if you're unsure at all, drop us a message, get in touch with us, ask us about it. And if you are on our mailing list, we have been sending out every week for a little while now a link for you to buy a ticket with a discount as a thank you for being on our mailing list. So if you want to get a discounted ticket, you can sign up to our mailing list. I'll make sure that the link to do that is underneath this video when I finished today. And it's about everywhere. And again, any questions, feel free to get in touch. You know, we're always around. We make ourselves very visible. There's loads of ways to get in touch with us. Please, if you want to be at the conference, please do get in touch. We've had a lot of fun over the last couple of weeks looking at how we can get more local people into the room, people who will benefit from finding out about this understanding. So we've been asking around about some sponsorship. So there are also available some subsidized tickets for people. So we have already got some sponsorship, which I'm just absolutely blown away and really excited about. So, you know, if you can't afford to pay full price to be at the conference and you're interested in a subsidized ticket, again, you know, make yourself known, speak to us. And the other side of that is, if you are somebody, you're watching this video and you would like to help, you would like to sponsor somebody being in that room, then please absolutely get in touch with us as well. We've been talking to different people about various ways they can sponsor that conference, because we are incredibly keen to fill that room. The conference last year was amazing, and I would say the only thing that could possibly have made it better was if there was just a few more people in the room, because it was just a shame more people didn't get to hear those absolutely brilliant speakers. So that's all the stuff that to catch you up on what's going on at the moment. So right, so I'm going to share with you a little bit about what I've been living and learning during this week. I don't usually watch an awful lot of television, but for whatever reason, I don't know, it's just happened a couple of nights this week. I've watched some amazing films, and I have shared a little bit about these on Facebook, so some of you may be aware of this, but there was one film that I watched, and it was called Collateral Beauty. And I don't want to give too much away in case anyone wants to watch the film. I could recommend it. It's a lovely film. It's a little bit sad because it's about a man whose daughter has died. And it's the story of how he is trying to come to terms with the fact that his daughter has died. And what I really, really loved about this film was the way that it pointed towards well, it's called Collateral Beauty. So it was pointing towards the amazingness of life, even in circumstances like somebody as dear to us and close to us as our son or daughter, you know, somebody that close to us dies. And yet, even though that is the most heart-wrenching, awful thing that can happen, there is still this beauty in life. And I think for me, that's what the principle showed to me, that no matter what happens to us, no matter what our circumstances are, there's something deeper about us. There's something that we can connect to. There's something that we can wake up to within ourselves and see that we have an absolute built-in okayness no matter what is going on. And the gentle way that this film shows how this man comes to terms with what has happened to him kind of points towards this, what they, you know, the name of the film, Collateral Beauty, the fact that there is absolutely a beauty, a perfection, something deeper within life if we can find the eyes to look and find the eyes to see that. And I know that can sound very trite and very, very difficult to understand sometimes. But what I would invite you to do, if that is sounding a little bit off to you, if that's not sounding possible, if that's sounding strange, or it's not sitting well with you, I would invite you to sit with that, to get curious, and just be open and sit with it. Because one of the things that I have been absolutely living and learning is that this connection that we have to something deeper than just our humanness, something that, this thing we can know about ourselves, is that it answers our questions, these questions from within us. The answers arise in us. And when an answer like that arises within us, these things that absolutely feel as if they can never make sense do begin to make sense. And one of the things that I saw around that film, Collateral Beauty, was how things that seem impossible can absolutely be possible. And one of them was, seeing the beauty in this terrible tragedy of the death of this small child. And yeah, it was a weepy and it was really sad, but it kind of brought home to me again the awesomeness and the amazingness of being human. The fact that we get to have all kinds of experiences, the gift of experience that we get to have, and built into that is this collateral beauty. So anyway, I would invite you to watch the film. It's on Netflix. It stars Will Smith. And I would love to hear what you think. I would love to hear what you see in that. And if you've got any questions about, what I've just been sharing, then feel free to ask them. And the other film that I watched was called About Time, and it's on Netflix again, and this is a story of, it's a little bit of a comedy. It's quite fun, it's very light-hearted, and it's a story of a man who can go back in time. And he the man who originally is kind of talking about this, he's telling his son that all the men in his family, so including him, can go back in time if they want to do something different. If something's happened and they don't like it and they want to do it again, they can go back in time and do it. And it was really, really fascinating to kind of watch how that unfolded. This young man found out that he had this gift of being able to go back in time. He finds out, when I think he's 21, he finds out that he's got this gift. And then it's kind of how the story unfolds and how he uses this gift to go back in time. And again, it's quite a gentle, slow film, but it's really beautiful to kind of see how being able to do 2 or 3 takes on his life, and the father in the film sharing what he has learned through being able to go back in time. And he's kind of sharing that what the learning is again, it's kind of pointing to the perfection that's already there in life. And every time, they get the chance to go back and do something different, and they do, they change what they do. It's kind of like beginning to see that actually life is unfolding perfectly all right, all on its own. We don't have to be in control. We don't have to be in charge, and we don't have to go back and change anything to make life perfect, to make life be okay, to feel okay ourselves. And it's a lovely story. And just for a bit of fun this morning, I posted on my Facebook page, I think, or no, maybe in the group, I posted, if you could go back in time and change something, what would you go back and change? And there was some interesting things, there was some interesting comments on it. But but it surprised me how many people kind of came back with the, actually, I wouldn't change anything. You know, life life's kind of found a way of working out. And I think that's one of those things that we begin to see, you know, like it's what Collateral Beauty was pointing to. It's the perfection in life as it unfolds exactly as it is. And, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking of a few of the things that I've done even over the last few weeks. You know, my mind starts saying things to me, you know, probably after I finish this YouTube show tonight, my mind will probably say, you should have done that differently and you should have done that better. And you were trying to get that across and you didn't quite do it right. And it can really feel at times that if we go back and do something in life, it would make things better. But what I truly love about the understanding that we're pointing to is it's kind of pointing to the perfection that is already built into every moment, that is already in life, that we don't need to, you know, that's not on us. We're not the ones that have to make life perfect. We don't have to do it right and get it right and be perfect ourselves for life to be perfectly okay. And, you know, as that started to dawn on me through coming across this understanding, you know, as it started to dawn on me that I'm not in control of the universe and I'm not in charge of the universe, and it's not down to me to always get everything right and to always be perfect. Oh my gosh, that was a huge relief. And it's really lovely to see that and to know that. And so a bit of the invitation here today really is to kind of look for that for yourself. Look for that collateral beauty in everything and look to see, even though I'm guessing there have been things in your life that if you could change, that you would, look at the perfection that's here anyway and begin to see that life has found a way of working itself out in spite of what you did, and maybe sometimes because of what you did. So yeah, I've had some beautiful insights watching those films this week. It's been a joy, actually. I don't, as I said, I don't watch loads of television, but I actually just had a few TV moments this week and really enjoyed them. So yeah, that's my living and learning for this week. So I will move on now to the question. I've actually had a couple of questions come in this week. We've had quite a bit of, with Bec away, I've had quite a lot of people contacting me in the office, and it's been lovely. I've, I've had some beautiful conversations with people. It's been really nice. And yeah, I've had a couple of conversations come in. Oh, I've had a comment from Fred. I love you too, Fred. It's really, really good to have you here with me. It's good to see you. So the question that somebody asked me earlier on in this week, they said, I wake up every day feeling anxious. What am I doing wrong? If it looks to you like I'm looking just over there, yeah, I have written these things down so that I can remember them, because I can't remember everything, you know, all the time. I'm not that perfect. So yeah, the question, I wake up every day feeling anxious. What am I doing wrong? And the first huge thing that I kind of want to say massively is you're not doing anything wrong. There is nothing wrong with waking up feeling anxious every day. I'm guessing it doesn't feel great, and you perhaps are kind of having thoughts, you know, around the idea of not liking that and not wanting to do that. But one of the things I think that we put on ourselves sometimes when we feel a certain way is we make up that if we are feeling something that we don't want to feel, if we're feeling a way that we don't like, we put that onto ourselves, don't we? We say, you know, what am I doing wrong? What is wrong with me that I feel this way? And I guess that is an easy trap to fall into if you're waking up every day feeling anxious. And to be absolutely honest, one of the things that I would question is, Is it every day? Do you wake up every day feeling anxious? And one of the things that I have also noticed, curiously, about the days, if I don't feel great when I wake up, I kind of have this moment when I'm halfway between awake and asleep, when I'm perfectly okay. And then some thinking kicks in. And if it's anxious thinking, then I start to feel anxious. So I would invite you, if you're waking up feeling anxious, to kind of notice if that's true. Notice if there is a moment before you start to feel anxious when you're perfectly okay, when you're kind of not properly awake yet, maybe, and your thinking hasn't kicked in and you're feeling okay. Just get curious and see if you see that, see if you notice that. And then again, kind of look at this, the part of the question that says, what am I doing wrong? I think as human beings, it's really, really easy for us to kind of put that stuff onto ourselves. Again, it's kind of taking responsibility. I know me and Bec have had quite a few insights, and we've talked a lot recently about that. Stepping up to life and taking responsibility whilst absolutely knowing you're not responsible at all. And I think the question, what am I doing wrong, points to us taking responsibility for something that we're not responsible for. It's kind of that. It feels to me like when I am anxious, when I am in a feeling that I don't want to be in and I don't like, if I feel that I have done something that has caused that feeling and it is my fault, it feels like I've come out of that place of balance and I've forgotten something about the truth of who I am. I've forgotten that, I've actually kind of overstepped that mark and not only kind of stepped up and taken responsibility, I'm actually truly believing that I am responsible. And what I love, love, love about that, stepping up to life and taking responsibility whilst knowing you're not responsible at all in any way, is to kind of see that you're not behind those feelings. You're not behind that anxious feeling. That anxious feeling is coming from the power, the of thought, the power of thought moving through you. It's thought isn't self-created. You didn't create it and you didn't cause that anxious feeling. So it's something that's coming through you and you are not responsible for it. And I think it's one of those times, one of the things that we talk about is looking towards what is helpful. And I think kind of hidden in the question, what am I doing wrong, is us believing that it's somehow down to us, and if we were different, or if we knew something more, or if we were better, or kind of it's buying into that I'm not good enough, what am I doing wrong, what is wrong with me. And it's, for me, the most helpful thing for me to see is there isn't anything wrong with me. I'm okay. I'm just having anxious thinking in that moment that really looks real and true to me. And part of that thinking is, believing that there's something, I'm lacking something, there's something wrong with me. And as I begin to see and understand, a deeper truth about who I am, as I begin to realize that it's not possible for me to lack anything, that isn't how this works. And maybe in my human form, the humanness of me might lack something, but the truth of who I am, the where, what it is that's feeling that feeling is something deeper than my humanness, and that can't lack anything. And as I begin to realize that I can't lack anything, so the question, what am I doing wrong, which comes from the thought that this anxious feeling is something you are causing in yourself, something you are doing wrong to make that happen. That's kind of the fundamental misunderstanding. You can't cause yourself to feel that way. You can misunderstand and innocently believe a thought and kind of lock yourself into those kinds of feelings. But if we begin to see that we can't lose anything and we can't gain anything. So, if we go back to that question, and I know I'm kind of harping on a little bit about it, but that what am I doing wrong? The underlying thing there is the idea that you can do something wrong, that you can lack something, that you can be less than perfect. And to me, it's kind of getting curious around that, looking at that and seeing that on a deeper level, on that, before our humanity, somewhere inside us, there is a knowing that we're not this human being, we're not this body, and we're not this form, and there cannot be, we can't lack anything, therefore we can't do anything wrong. And somehow, in my experience, as I begin to kind of unpick those questions and look at the thinking that's behind them, I'm having some anxious thinking, I'm doing that more than I want to do, and that feels like I'm doing something wrong. I shouldn't have that anxious feeling, I'm doing something wrong. So if we look at we can't do anything wrong. And anxious thinking is the power of thought passing through us. And it's actually, strangely, it's a gift that we can have that experience. Even the experiences that we really, really, really don't want are a gift. And again, that's kind of like an invitation to get curious. How is waking up feeling anxious every morning a gift to us? And in my experience, those things are gifts because they give us a chance to learn something about ourselves. They're there, those anxious feelings are there to wake us up to the truth of who they are. They're reminding us, we feel anxious because we've forgotten the truth of who we are, because we've got confused by that, by the fact that it looks as if we can do something wrong. It looks that if we're anxious, we can lose something. We can actually lose something that we really need. And as we begin to see that we can't lose something, we can't lose the truth of who we are, we can't lose our true essence, we can't lose that deeper part of us. And anything that can be lost is something that we don't need. And then it's kind of like looking at the thoughts that we believe about anything that it looks as if we can lose, that it looks as if it's something we need. So to me, it's kind of getting curious and playing with that and seeing what thoughts am I absolutely believing to be a truth. And if you do, you do. And seeing the total okayness of that too, seeing that you can't do it wrong. That's just what's happening. And for me, it's not necessarily about changing those things or having to change those things, or even, strangely, getting rid of that anxious feeling every morning. It's understanding, you know what? Human beings feel what they think moment to moment. And sometimes that's going to be anxious. And it's perfectly okay to feel anxious. And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. And it doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It's literally just kind of saying, hey, wake up. You've forgotten the truth of who you are. And from time to time, we're all going to forget that. And it's like an alarm ringing to remind you that that's what you've done. You've forgotten the truth of who you are. So I'm going to have a little drink of water for a minute. without Bec here to interact with me, you know, my throat gets a little bit dry just talking. So I hope you can bear with me for a minute while I have a little drink. So thank you. So our topic this week is we are all the same. I find that a fascinating topic because at the moment we're partway through an online course that we're doing. It's all about relationships, and for these last few weeks we've been looking at the human side of things, looking at what it's like to be human, and we've kind of talked about separate realities and the fact that we all live in separate realities. And I'd like to go back here a minute to my living and learning for this week and the film that I talked about watching, that Collateral Beauty, because there's a twist at the end of the film. And I'll try and share this without spoiling the film, but something happens at the end and it's kind of plays with your mind because it's a really nice ending, but it's kind of like, oh, how is that possible? I don't really know how that could have happened. And I guess it's a paradox. Maybe it's not even a paradox. Maybe it's kind of just like, I think, you know, when I talked about, I've seen a few times how things that seem impossible are possible. And I think before I started to look at how life works on a deeper level, it all looked very linear to me. Maybe it looked like, you know, this is how it happens, and things made sense and followed on one from another. And the more that I kind of understand how life works, the more that I see that there are like paradoxes, and there are anomalies, things that just don't appear to fit into how it looks as if the world works. And this film, Collateral Beauty, had an ending like that. It kind of twisted something, and it was kind of like, whoa, how was that possible? And yet that was kind of the beauty in the film, if you like. And I've kind of seen that in life. It feels as if certain things happen, I'm going to feel a certain way. And if certain things are true, that, you know, that means something and it can't be changed. And one of them is, you know, when we look, our experience that we're having here at the moment, I am definitely, you know, I feel my human experience. I seem to experience being human. And then as I've begun to understand the deeper truth of who I am, I can also see I can have a deeper experience. I can see something else going on here. And it kind of looks like it's impossible for those two things to be true at the same time. It looks like we are so different as human beings. We are individual. We have separate realities. We have different experiences from each other. I'm not aware of what you're experiencing right now while you're watching this. You know, my experience doing this is a different experience to yours. And yet there is absolutely also a total oneness here. There is one being having 7 billion different experiences and kind of not knowing about all of them at the same time. Or, you know, so it seems impossible. It seems that it is impossible that I am you and you are me, and yet you are separate from me, living in a separate reality, having a different experience from me. It feels as if those two things can't be true at the same time. And yet, what this understanding points towards is the fact that they are. And I think the curiosity, the investigation, this conversation is all about kind of looking to to get a deeper understanding of that, to kind of, I want to say get our head around that, but I'm not even sure that that's possible. I'm not sure that that is what happens. I think it's kind of, there is a deeper knowing within us that sort of begins to see it. We begin to wake up to the truth of the fact that you are me and I am you, and yet we have an experience of being a totally individual, separate being. And it is somehow the understanding of that, or somehow beginning to see that those two things are absolutely possible at the same time. It is actually what's going on for every one of us in every moment. And beginning to kind of see that somehow opens up our human experience to be a much lighter one, a much more graceful one, a much easier one to enjoy and to have fun with. My experience of being human and, you know, the day-to-day happening, what goes on, you know, the running of the business, the or living together in this house, the talking to my friends, the relationship I have with my partner, all of those things seem lighter, more graceful, more easy, make more sense, are much easier to enjoy the more that I understand and see that I am also, there is no one here who is absolutely separate from me. There is no experience that I have that happens in isolation from all of those things. And on a really, really, really kind of practical level, one of the things that kind of occurred to me during this week, I was thinking about the fact that it was when we were looking at separate realities, you know, when we've been with this 90-day course that we've been doing, and we were looking at separate realities, and I kind of came back to you know, the thoughts that, you know, why different people do things that don't make sense to me. And it occurred to me that on some level we are all trying to we all kind of want the same thing, even though sometimes people do crazy things that it doesn't look as if it's possible that they want the same thing as you. If we kind of stop and think about it, they absolutely do. When I go back to my experience of a very unhealthy relationship, what I really, really see now, at the time when I was living through that, it made no sense to me at times what my partner did. It just looked crazy. It looked as if that, you know, there was no way he could have wanted peace and freedom and happiness and a deep connected with relationship. His behavior to me absolutely made no sense. If that was what he wanted, it made no sense to me that he would do what he was doing. And yet now, as I come across this understanding, as I kind of see the oneness, as I see how we're all the same, that place where we're all the same is, I can absolutely see we both absolutely wanted the same thing. We both wanted a good relationship. We wanted connection. We wanted to be together. We wanted to feel love. And yet, how we went about that and our moment to moment behavior and what we did was incredibly different. And I'm sure on both sides, it made no sense, you know, to either of us. You know, what the other person was doing made no sense to either of us. But what I can absolutely see now is that what was driving that, what was behind that, what was under that was absolutely a want for the same thing. We both wanted love and peace and happiness. And I think that is true all the time of all human beings. And however ridiculous and crazy and out there and stupid and mad, bonkers what we do, our behavior can be, and the behavior of other people, however ridiculous it can seem to us, if we kind of stop and think about it and look at it, we begin to see that all anybody wants is to feel connected, to feel loved, to feel as if they belong. And when we kind of fall out of that feeling, when we feel anxious or upset, or when we don't feel good enough, when we don't feel that love, we do things that make sense to us in that moment to bring ourselves back to that. And all human behavior, if we can take the time to stop and look at it, everybody is coming from the same place. And that is kind of that place where we begin to see that we are all the same. And given the thinking that somebody else has, we're all going to do what makes sense to us, given the thinking that we have in that moment that looks real and true. And knowing that of other people has been so hugely helpful for me to kind of see that everybody is doing what makes sense to them, given the thinking that they have that looks real and true and makes sense to them in that moment. In that we are all in this together and we are all the same. And I think it can even kind of go that I can be annoyed, upset, disgusted, hurt by my own behavior at sometimes. It can feel like I behave in ways that I don't like, I'm not happy with. And seconds, minutes, days, whatever, after that behavior, I can wish that I hadn't done it. I can wish that I could go back and change it. And that kind of points me towards seeing that my okayness comes back to me, my good feeling comes back when I have that same realization about myself, when I kind of forgive myself and see that I am always going to act from the thinking that looks real and true to me and that I believe in any given moment. And so when I am disappointed, upset, hurt, disgusted, whatever it is in my own behavior, I can see that even then, exactly the same as when I get annoyed with other people, when I get angry and cross with what other people do, it's not helpful, because it's not helpful when I do that with myself. If I kind of take a breath and look at where did my behavior come from, it always comes from a place of wanting to feel love, feel connected, feel accepted. It's always coming from there. At some point, if we kind of trace it back, that's what we're doing. And I guess my behavior gets better. One of the things that we're doing during this 90-day course is we've all made a commitment to something. And one of the things that I made a commitment to was being kinder. And what I have seen around this is that I can't force myself to be kinder when my thinking is all over the place. And yet, as I understand, as I unpick and see my thinking, as I see where my behavior comes from, as I understand my thinking, a natural byproduct is that I become kinder. It makes sense to me. The thinking that I have is kinder thinking. So I'm absolutely loving this investigation. I'm absolutely loving looking at the sameness in all of us, because part of my commitment to being kinder is, sometimes I notice that I have thinking about other people that they've irritated me. And I can also notice that I can have that same thinking about myself. I can be irritated and annoyed and upset with myself. So it's kind of like that points me to that deeper truth of who I am, that I am not, if I can be disappointed in myself and disappointed in somebody else's behavior, this self that I'm disappointed in and these other people, they're kind of the same. There's nothing separate about them. It's kind of the same thing. And so the commitment to being kinder, it's universal. It's like, if I am kinder to myself, I am kinder to other people. If I am kinder to other people, I am kinder to myself. And it's all tied up in this, the oneness. It's all tied up in the fact that there is a place where we are all the same. And there is a place where we are all the same because there is no separation, because you are me and I am you. And so, kind of looking to understand how I operate from the thinking that I believe to be real and true in the moment. And so do other people, and the only place that we have any, I don't know what the right word is here, the only place that we kind of have any control, can do anything is the thinking that we believe to be true in any given moment. It doesn't look to me like, it feels like whatever this body is, whatever this is that's going on here, I am being lived. But the game that we can play is we can look to understand the thinking that we have moment to moment, and we can play with it, we can get curious about it, we can fall in love with it, we can, I don't know, it looks like what's going on here is the ability to understand our thinking. And although that doesn't sound like it's much, when we're kind of living life and we're in a relationship or not in a relationship and want to be, or in a relationship and someone's driving us nuts, or whatever it is that's going on in our life, it absolutely can feel as if we need control. It can feel as if we have control over certain things and not over others. It can feel as if we need control over things we don't have control over. And what kind of shows up for me more and more and more is, what I seem to be able to do is to understand this power of thought that I have. I seem to be able to see my thinking sometimes, not always, but when I can, the amount that I can seems to be enough. It seems that the intelligence behind this system has got it right, has got it absolutely perfect. And I can see enough of my thinking to understand it, learn to love it, learn that I am, that the game that can be played here is to see through that, and that peace and happiness and connection that every single one of us are striving towards, that every action that we take is fueled by, is, that's what's behind it. It seems that that is possible as we begin to understand this deeper truth of who we are, and understand it's as simple as understanding our own thinking, not necessarily having to dissect what our thinking is, not having to, if we go back to the question and kind of, I wake up feeling anxious every day. It's like, we don't have to know what the thought is, what is the anxious thought? Once we begin to see that no thought is truth. So anything that is, if I am feeling anxious, it is something I'm believing something that isn't real and true in any given moment and taking it to be real and true. And it's kind of like, so if I take any thought and begin to look at its nature, begin to see that any thought that passes through me, that gives me an experience, any thought isn't ultimate truth. It doesn't matter what that thought is. It's not true. It's not ultimate truth. It's not this deeper thing that I am. It isn't that. And so if I'm waking up feeling anxious and I remember that no thought is true, I can feel, right here in this moment when I'm sat here doing this, I can feel the freedom in the knowing of that. It makes me want to laugh. It's just, wow, that's what's going on here. That's what it is. If we just see this. So for me, again, it's like just getting curious about it. Somehow playing around with that. It's totally possible with just playing around with looking at our thinking and seeing its nature and seeing through it and seeing that no thought is true brings that freedom to us. And because we are all connected in ways that can look entirely impossible to us, but absolutely are, because we are connected in that way, you seeing this, you seeing through one thought of yours is the biggest gift you can give to humanity. There is nothing more. There is nothing that is bigger than that. If you were to win the lottery and come into millions of pounds and give it to a charity, you would not have given as much to this world as if you see through your own thinking, see the nature of thought, and begin to live from that place. Because when we give money to charity, when we do beautiful things, when we do amazing things in the world, all of it is coming from the fact that we want to feel happiness. We want to feel connection. We want to feel love. That is what is behind it all. And one human being seeing their true nature, seeing the true nature of thought, seeing the deeper truth of who they are, opens up that connection, that love, that oneness. It opens it up in ways that nothing else can. So that is why that is absolutely the biggest gift you can give to humanity, looking in this direction and seeing the only game in town worth playing is looking to see how thought creates our reality and then says it has nothing to do with it, but having a realization that that is absolutely what is going on, and no thought is truth. And then from that place, we begin to see that we are all the same. There is just one here. There is just one thing going on here. There is no absolutely separate people. There is no one who is totally separate and isolated from you. And again, it kind of comes back to that. It doesn't look possible. It doesn't look like that. And yet, the tiniest glimpse of that wakes up in us something, a way to be more loving, more kind, more connected, more giving, all of those things that every single human being is striving to get. We kind of go beyond our humanness and see that. And what I see from that place is my human experience just gets better from that place. And even though it can absolutely feel as if some circumstances could feel like they are too much for me to bear, they are too much for me to see through, to see as thought in any given moment. What my own experience has showed me is that there is a way to see through anything. And I would absolutely just invite you to, in a really, really playful way, and in a way that coming from truly being kind and considerate of yourself, ask yourself those questions. There's something within you that's going to answer if you ask these questions earnestly and absolutely wanting the answer. I can see from my own experience, sometimes when I would ask those questions, I would go in asking a question, believing that the answer that I wanted was a true answer, if that makes sense. Like we all, on a human level, we can have things. If we go back to the film that I watched about that man and coming to terms with the death of his daughter, I'm kind of guessing that if he had have gone in and asked the question about his daughter and his daughter dying, it would have felt like the only answer that for him to be happy, the only way for him to be okay was if his daughter came back. And I can totally see, I'm sure we can all identify with that and see, yep, that makes total sense. We can also know that that isn't possible. And somewhere within us, human beings have a way of getting over things. And what this points to me is, if we look around and we see all sorts of things happening to all sorts of people, and yet we see resilience, we see love, we see happiness, we see peace, we see all of those beautiful things, the collateral beauty everywhere, we see that too. And it's like, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what is going on for you, do it with something light and gentle to start with, but get curious about that. How is that possible? And what I have seen, since kind of being in this conversation and doing that and asking questions from that place, being open to the answer not being that my daughter has to be alive. And even in this moment saying that kind of wobbles me. It kind of, oh gosh, so I get it can be difficult, but it's like seeing that even, if we can let go of it having to be the answer that we want, then something else opens up. I've just glanced down at the time and I've kind of noticed that even without Bec here, I have managed to talk for an hour and could go on probably for another hour, but I won't. I can't thank you enough for being here and listening to me. And if anyone is watching the recording, thank you very much for watching the recording. So next week, I've got a few things in front of me that to share. I made lots of notes because I haven't got a Bec this week. So we'll be back here. Bec will be back from her holiday next week. So it'll be me and Bec next week for our YouTube live. It's at 5:30 again next week. And the topic is going to be, we had an email from somebody asking, and I thought this is a brilliant topic. Since when did life have to be perfect? So we're going to be talking about that next week. And the question, somebody asked me this question. How do I leave a bad relationship when I am really scared? So me and Bec are going to be exploring those two things in our YouTube show live next Wednesday at 5:30. I would absolutely love to have you join me. And just a quick reminder of the new video series we've got coming out on the 9th of September. That's the first day it will go out. So if you want to see those videos, how do I deal with, then sign up to our mailing list. If you're already on it, you're going to get them. So that's great. And then a reminder of our retreat and our conference. We would absolutely love to have you there. There is something amazing about the connection when we get together in a room, you know, like that. I absolutely love in-person stuff if it's possible. So it would be amazing to have you with us at either one of those events. I'm going to be telling you pretty soon when the new website is up and running, I hope. So is there anything else on my board and anything else? So if you've really enjoyed this today, if you've enjoyed this conversation and you want to explore this further with me and Bec in person, you want to do it one-to-one or you want to do it within a group, then we do that. We, we have groups going, and we also do work one-to-one with people if you want to explore this a little bit deeper. So please feel free to get in touch with us. There is obviously you can leave comments anywhere. You can find us on Facebook. We're very, very visible all over the place, and we love hearing from you. We love your questions and we love your inquiries. So it is 6:31. I've got a minute over time. Thank you for being here with me this evening, and I hope to catch up with you again soon. Take care. Lots and lots of love. Have a beautiful evening. Bye for now.